Hey guys, Brandon Gomez here, back again with another video, and it's that time of the year again. Or, well, it was that time of the year about 4 weeks ago. Yeah, I originally intended this video to come out on the 4th of July, but then I decided to push it back until after the Atlanta race weekend because there were still some Patriotics that were run during those two races. And then I started driving school. And then also, my stop motion series started at the same time. And so I devoted like 100% of my time to that. And this video was shelved temporarily. But I'm here now, finally. Yeah. Before I start this video, I just want to make a disclaimer. Some of the paint schemes run on both the Chicago and Atlanta weekends were already run, and I already rated them in previous videos. So, yeah. Anyway, with all that out of the way, we can get started. Without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with the Xfinity Series, we have Sheldon Creed's Patriotic that he ran at both Chicago and Atlanta. It's the same one that he drove last year, and it's essentially his normal wheel and primary scheme, but with added blue and stars. Lazy design, but I like it. I can't quite remember what I gave it last year. I think I gave it a 7 out of 10. I don't know, but that's the rating I'm going to give this Patriotic. 7 out of 10. It's good. Next up, we have Austin Hill's Patriotic that he ran at Chicago. I like the design on this one. I like the blue and red color gradient. And then, the stars at the front that fade out when they get closer to the global industrial logo. That's a nice design. And I like how on the side of the car in front of the number, you can faintly see the stripes there. That's subtle. I like it. 7 out of 10. Next up, we have Austin Hill's Patriotic that he ran at Atlanta. I like this one better than the one he ran at Chicago because the stripes are bigger and they're more obvious. They're not hidden by a color gradient. So you've got blue at the front with all the stars, and then some stripes at the top of the hood, and then at the back of the car, you have the stripes with some blue stars going down the side of the car. Great design, great Patriotic. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Justin Marks' Patriotic. This is the same scheme that they run in the Cup Series, but on an Xfinity body. And it looks just as great on an Xfinity body than it does on a Cup body. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have Preston Pardus' Patriotic. I like the eagle head on the side. That's a nice touch. But what I don't like about this paint scheme is the underabundance of red. The only red that exists on this scheme is the stripes on the side of the car. It needs more red, but overall, it's still decent. 6 out of 10. Next up, we have Jeremy Clements' Patriotic. He ran this at Atlanta, and I'm pretty sure he ran this exact same scheme last year, but it's still great. You can't go wrong with just a big old American flag as your paint scheme. 10 out of 10. That does it for the Xfinity Series. Now moving on to the Cup Series. To start off, we have Austin Dillon's Patriotic. This has an all-camo design, except for that little American flag right next to the 3. And an observation I made about this is that it's basically an inverse version of his Coke 600 scheme, which that one was red, white, and blue, but also had a camo design to it. But the overall theme of that scheme was red, white, and blue. While on this Patriotic, the theme is camo, but also has an American flag design incorporated into it. Which, not sure if that is what they were going for. It was most likely unintentional, but it's an interesting thing that I noticed. Anyway, this Patriotic is a 6 out of 10. It's decent. Next up, we have Kyle Busch's Patriotic. Ah, yes. Classic Cheddar's Patriotic. Wait a minute. Did they change the design? They changed the design. Why? It was fine just the way it was. The only thing I'll give this one is that it at least has more croissants and stars on it. That's what last year's scheme was missing. But why change the stripes design? Instead of just like one singular solid pattern, it's a stripe pattern that fades away at the after the first wheel well, and then a completely different design, or not design, another stripe design on top of the rear wheel well. That, why? That just, I have no words. 5 out of 10. Next up, we have Eric Almirola's Patriotic. Really? Really? This is literally just his normal Smithfield primary scheme, but with an American flag incorporated into it. That's just lazy. They did the same thing with Kevin Harvick's Patriotic in the Coke 600. My one question is, why couldn't they run the same Patriotic that they ran in the Coke 600? That one was beautiful. But instead they go the lazy route and just slap an American flag on the primary scheme. SHR is known for their great paint schemes, but this isn't one of them. This is a dud. 0 out of 10. Next up, we have Chase Briscoe's Patriotic. This is literally his normal Mahindra Tractor's primary scheme, but with an American flag slapped on the side. The same thing that they did for Kevin Harvick at this year's Coke 600. In fact, this is the same Patriotic they ran last year at the Coke 600. That's even more egregiously lazy than Eric Almirola's Patriotic. What was wrong with the Patriotic they ran at the Coke 600 this year? Because that one is miles better than this monstrosity. So not only is SHR putting on terrible performances, they're also creating terrible paint schemes. 0 out of 10. What's gotten into them? And for our final Patriotic, we have Chris Buescher's Patriotic. This is way better than whatever the hell this thing was that they ran at the Coke 600. That was an awful Patriotic. But enough about that Patriotic. Let's talk about this Patriotic. You've got white at the front, blue at the back, red outlines around the hexagons on the nose of the car, and red stars in the blue section. What this Patriotic could use is a little more red. But that doesn't diminish the fact that this is a pretty good looking Patriotic. I like it. 6 out of 10. And with that, every Patriotic scheme ran on 4th of July weekend, or, well, around 4th of July weekend, has been given its proper rating. There weren't that many Patriotics run for 4th of July, which kind of surprised me a little bit, and I was worried that there wasn't going to be enough Patriotics to make a video on. And that's why I waited for the Atlanta weekend to pass, so that I could include those schemes in this video. And less Patriotics, but most of them were pretty good. And that wasn't the case for the Coke 600. There were quite a few Patriotics run, but a lot of them were mid at worst and mid at best, and downright terrible at worst. And glad to see that that wasn't the case for the July weekend. Anyway, enough of my rambling. What do you think? Do you think some of these should have been given a higher rating? Do you think some should have been given a lower rating? How would you rate these Patriotics? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see more of me, be sure to follow on my socials, like my Twitter, or, well, X, as it's called now. Follow me on Twitter, X. Follow me on Instagram, and follow me on Instagram Threads, even though that app's like pretty much dead at this point, but still, follow me if you want to see more of me. And also, join my Discord server. Links to all of those are in the description down below. Leave a like on the video, and subscribe to my channel for more motorsports content. Thank you all so much for watching. That's it from me. Peace.